Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Hello and welcome everybody from all over the world. We are coming live to you from many parts of the Americas, from El Salvador, Washington, D.C., Nicaragua, and Mexico. My name is Christiana Mertens, and I am the founder of Do Goodery, and we are so honored and thrilled to be partnering with Wild Earth Allies and ProCosta to host this event showcasing the incredible work they're doing to protect critically endangered hawksbill turtles and support the livelihoods of coastal communities in El Salvador. This particular project is near and dear to my heart, as my mother is from El Salvador, and I spent much of my childhood living in that beautiful country with her. With a consistent focus on community and partnership, Wild Earth Allies joins forces with organizations around the world to protect wildlife and habitats. Their successful collaboration with ProCosta's Hawksbill Turtle Conservation Network in El Salvador is a great example of their efforts to embed community needs into biodiversity conservation. I'm so excited to kick off today's event with the screening of the film that tells the story of hope and harmony for the Hawksbills firsthand. This film has already been incredibly well received and has been selected for 4 film festivals this year, including the prestigious World Wildlife Day Film Showcase. Needless to say, we're so looking forward to sharing it with all of you here today. Following the screening, we'll be joined by 4 key players behind the scenes for a candid conversation about the making of the film and the importance of telling this very powerful story. La Voz del Mar, Hope for Hawksbill Turtles, captures the crucial connection between conservation and community that has been central to the groundbreaking success of this effort, both for hawksbills and for people. Capturing the stunning landscape of Jiquilisco Bay, alongside the steadfast dedication of conservationists and community members working hand in hand to protect it. The magic of the story speaks for itself. So, with no further ado, I am elated to introduce you to La Voz del Mar, Hope for Hawksbill Turtles.
Alrededor del mundo, las tortugas carey están en estado crítico a nivel global.
El Pacífico Oriental es bien importante porque es un santuario para las tortugas carey. El Salvador es considerado uno de los países más importantes de anidación para la tortuga carey en el Pacífico Oriental.
El Salvador es la casa de más del 50% de las tortugas marinas del Pacífico Oriental. Por muchos años se pensó aquí en El Salvador que las tortugas carey habían desaparecido.
634A. Se ha adaptado de vivir en arrecifes de coral a depender directamente de los esteros y los manglares. Es un santuario para las tortugas carey.
¿Tenía alguna lesión la tortuga?
No, ninguna lesión, estamos bien.
Entonces es por ello que tenemos un trabajo fundamental y esencial dentro de la conservación de la tortuga carey.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, bien, ¿y usted?
Bien, mucho gusto.
Dios, que le vaya bien.
Adiós, gracias.
Bueno.
Sin duda alguna, hemos descubierto un lugar muy importante para su conservación. No podemos hacer un trabajo de conservación sin tener efectivamente el apoyo de las comunidades. Las comunidades son las protagonistas de la conservación. Antes que nada, bienvenidos a todos. Gracias por estar aquí. Nos reunimos con las comunidades y esto consiste en que los cargueros, que son los colectores de los nidos,
ver de qué manera estos pueden recolectar cuando las llaman, para que esto se vuelva a reproducir. Ya los nietos, los hijos, puede haber una mejor reproducción. A eso nosotros siempre ahí andamos, vuelta y vuelta.
Por mucho tiempo, el consumo de huevos es una de las amenazas más grandes. Y ahora los huevos de las tortugas carey están realmente conservadas en su totalidad con las comunidades. Ellos son los que nos ayudan a recorrer las playas.
Vaya, entonces ella subió, llegó allí al sector.
Ajá.
Por ahí.
Ajá, sí, allí. Y luego comenzó a barrer.
Cuando ellos encuentran una tortuga, entonces nos llaman. Y los encargados de cada vivero, que son los viveristas, van al lugar donde está la tortuga y llevan los huevos hacia el vivero para protegerlos. Están conservadas en su totalidad.
Que es como una pasión, porque es tanto así que somos prácticamente el 45% de toda la población de hembras anidantes.
¿Y a qué horas nacieron las tortuguitas?
Como a las 6 de la mañana.
¿Cuántos nidos han nacido?
La verdad me hace sentir bastante orgullosa porque sabemos de que hemos ayudado. Más adelante, en el futuro, que vuelva a venir a anidar en estas mismas playas y llegar a vida adulta y seguir con el ciclo. Me motiva un montón ver los paisajes de la bahía. Han pasado de depender de arrecifes de corales a desarrollar adentro de los esteros y los manglares. Si queremos proteger a la tortuga carey, también hay que proteger a los manglares.
Esta.
No solo estamos protegiéndola a ella, sino que todo el ecosistema.
Y yo no ve. Ahí hay varios.
Ya eso es como una gran motivación.
El impacto que nosotros en nuestro trabajo ha hecho es grande. Pasamos de 500 hembras, de tener menos de 500 hembras, a tener menos de 700 hembras. Y eso es importante. Es decir, que los números están aumentando.
He escuchado a las personas de la comunidad decir de que ahora ven más tortugas, que hace muchos años no era así. Yo esperaría que sí, la población aumente un poco más también.
Sin duda nos están dando un gran ejemplo a nosotros como humanidad. La verdad que son animales increíbles. Entonces nuestro trabajo es ser parte de la solución.
I have watched this film so many times and it still brings a little tear to my eye because it's so stunning and so beautiful and just a really magical story. So now I am so excited to pull back the curtain and roll out the red carpet for the people behind this inspiring story. But before we get to it, we encourage you to ask as many questions as you'd like just using our Q&A function. So, and if you like a specific question, make sure to upvote it too. So let's get to the good stuff. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to Ani Henriquez, president of ProCosta.
Hi, my name is Annie Henriquez. I'm an biologist with a master's degree in natural protected areas. I've been working in ProCosta since 2012. I am so happy to be here and share our work and experience with all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ani. It's so nice to see you here. Okay, next we have John Bucher, co-founder of Emic Films and the director of La Voz del Mar, Hope for Hawksbill Turtles.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Yeah, I'm John Bucher, and I'm with Emic Films. We're a documentary video production company based in Washington, D.C. We directed and produced the film in collaboration with Wild Earth Allies, who we have a long collaboration with, telling their stories in the field. I'm excited to talk to you all today.
Awesome. Thank you, John. All right, next we have Jose Urtiega, Director of Marine Partnerships for Wild Earth Allies. Jose.
Hello, everyone. Hi from Nicaragua. I am so humble and honored to be here sharing this video showcasing the work, the amazing work of ProCosta. I've been working in marine turtle conservation during the last 20 years, and in multiple instances, I have had the opportunity to visit the projects, to collaborate with them. They are an inspiration. They have been an inspiration for the sea turtle conservation world. I did part of my PhD research, learning from that amazing case study. And now I have the opportunity to collaborate with them, continue collaboration in my role as the Director of Marine Partnerships in Wild Earth Allies. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Jose. I know they love working with you too. All right, last but certainly not least, Kelly Hogan, Program Officer for Wild Earth Allies.
Hey there, everyone. Thanks, Christiana. I'm so happy to be here on behalf of Wild Earth Allies. As Program Officer, I have the absolute privilege to work with our field teams and partners around the world, including Ani and ProCosta. And my background is largely in working in aquatic ecosystems, so I am particularly fond of all things marine. And it was such a pleasure working with John and Jose and the ProCosta team, and I'm just so proud that we're here sharing it today. I'm excited for the discussion.
Amazing. Thank you, Kelly. All right, everybody. So let's set the tone for this conversation. Let's go back to last summer, August of 2021. Jiquilisco Bay, El Salvador. Many of the stories you're about to share all happened in 6 days, from what I understand. So how were you feeling in the first few days of filming? What was it like? And we'd love to know. So Ani, I'm going to invite you to kick us off.
Yes, well, having Wild Earth Allies, Emic Films, ProCosta, and communities working together was memorable for us. Being able to share our conservation work, our tradition was a key part of all of this. But also just to have all the team together, it was a huge experience. Yes.
That's amazing. I love it. John, what about you as the filmmaker?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I think, one of the perks of this work is to get to meet people like Ani, Melissa, and Sophia, who are on the ground there. And also, these are wild animals that we were tracking. So being quick on our feet and kind of being able to react to the different needs of the hatching and the nesting that was happening was definitely something that was exciting and was difficult, but definitely rewarding through the course of the 6 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Jose, what about for you?
Well, I have to admit that I am mesmerized with all the filming crew and the team there were able to achieve in just 6 days. I was totally skeptical. I was proposing that probably several trips were going to be needed, but it seemed like all the constellations aligned to make things happen, right? The turtles were super collaborative. The team amazing, solving any small logistical thing that arise. So yeah, it was and a very interesting experience.
Yeah, I bet. And you must be so impressed, Jose, that they pulled it off in 6 days, that you all pulled it off in 6 days.
Yeah.
And then Kelly, what about you? I also heard you wore multiple hats on this trip.
Oh, yes. I was able to be the boom operator, AKA I held the microphone. But that was partially because, we had a lean budget for this. We're a conservation organization. Most of our funds are going towards conservation. So John came down with just one other team member with Emmett Mauricio, the cinematographer. And yeah, it was just incredible what they were able to do. And like Jose said, the turtles really cooperated. You know, we were working with these unknown variables, weather, turtles. It was raining several nights, but you know, we filmed everything we set out to film, and as you saw, it turned out so beautifully.
Sure did. It did. John, as a filmmaker and, you know, working on such a tight timeline in a foreign country, what was one of the most memorable experiences or moments for you in producing this film?
Yeah, I think it was a couple things. I mean, I would say this was definitely, in terms of the different productions we've done around the world, like the most water intensive that we've had, to a point that I definitely brought the wrong shoes. And luckily I had Adam from Wild Earth Allies there to help me out. But yeah, it was definitely, I mean, getting in and out of boats, you know, just making sure our gear was safe, that wasn't going in the water. I think that was just an overall memory and something I'll take with me definitely on future productions. But yeah, I think as Kelly kind of hinted at, it was the need to adapt. Ideally, we would have done this in, like, you know, a 3-month period and followed the entire season and kind of had our pick of different stories that we could choose from. But we really had to have our producers' hats on and be selective in terms of what we chose. But yeah, there was just one day where we decided we were gonna, you know, do morning drone shots, get a nice sunrise coming over the hills. And then, yeah, we were told there was a nesting turtle happening, you know, and we had to get there in 10 minutes. And luckily we were flexible enough to react and get that moment in the film, because we had been planning for it to happen at 3 a.m. and each night kind of going to sleep assuming we'd have an alarm at that time. So yeah, that moment was definitely special and a good indication that you kind of have best laid plans, but sometimes the best things happen by chance and you just have to react to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Ani, what about for you? You know, as someone who's leading this organization on the ground, you know, focused on the conservation efforts, and all of a sudden you have a camera crew following you. How did that make you feel, and what was memorable for you?
Yeah, it was a really new experience for all of us. And personally, it was very, very good to share all the ideas with all the teams about how to get the film done. And it was great. It was great to know how it is behind the scenes, and it's absolutely something different, a different story, a different experience. And it's amazing to see the film, the final version of the film, because there were a lot of adventures, a lot of stories behind that. So yeah, for me personally, it was a great experience.
Good. And, you know, I'm going to kick this back over to both you and Ani and Jose. You know, this is such a collaborative effort to accomplish what you have accomplished in El Salvador. Can you tell us a bit more about the impacts you've seen with this work that they were having on the region, not only for the turtles, but also for the community? Jose,
Well,
kick
yeah.
us off.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, I will say that, there are many angles and dimensions that you can use, like to express the success of this work. And as the video establishes, key and fundamental to the success of the project is the collaboration with the communities. The buy-in, but also the stake, like the communities and the communities leader play in the development of the project, right? They play an active role in the management of the project, from the conception, the planification, the evaluation, and I think that is fundamental for the success. The other thing I have to say, that this is particularly a very, very interesting experience, because they have been able to achieve amazing tangible conservation outcome in very, very few time, which is crazy if we think that this is a project about marine turtle conservation. Marine turtles are animals that have a long lifespan. Everything is slow. When a population declines, it takes a long time to recover them. But in Bahia Jiclisco, because the natural conditions and the nature of this population that is very territorial, most of the life stages of the sea turtle happen in Bahia Jiclisco, they have been able to measure the success and the impact, not only in terms of the number of eggs that they protect and the hatchlings that they protect, but the increase in the abundance of juveniles in the waters, right? And this is super important just to keep like people invested, just the conservation staff, but also the community, right? The people say, okay, this is really working, or effort is paying out, and this dramatically increase like the commitment of all the community towards conservation.
Yeah, that's incredible. Ani, when you were starting ProCosta, what was sort of your vision and what looks different now from when you started this? What's surprised you about the impact that ProCosta has had?
That's a very good question, because when we started in 2007, I remember that Hawksbill turtles in El Salvador were considered extinct. But now in 2022, our country has become one of the most important areas of nesting protection in the Oriental Pacific. So this more than 10 years, it's been a really great work together with communities. This is a big success for all of us, because it means that what we've been doing, it's very good. And we not only, giving a positive change for the Hawksbill population, but also for communities. And maybe I would like to have a bit of a story of success of ProCosta and communities. And it's about our first stacked turtle back in 2008 when we started, and we named it Isabella. So after we saw this turtle in 2008, she has been coming back in this past 14 years. So that's huge, because it means that this turtle, it's having the right conditions. She's safe, she's healthy, and it's great to see that what we have done, it's working. And the last time we saw Isabella was this year, actually, in 2020. It was February, and we were doing the in-water monitoring. So this is huge, because she's not only nesting, but she's also foraging. So that's great. She's staying at the bay. She liked the Jiquilisco Bay. So that's one of the stories from us. So it's huge. It's huge to be able to see this and share this with all of you.
Absolutely. And Isabella knows what's good, right? She's like, I'm coming back. Yeah. So great. So John, Kelly, team, I would love to hear how you thought about the concept for the film. Why was this important to Wild Earth Allies and ProCosta? And did you have a vision for what this was going to look like? Does it look different from where you started?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can start just by explaining why we wanted to partner with EMIC to do this project. So as Wild Earth Allies, it's in our name, allies. Our greatest strength are the people with whom we're working around the world to deliver conservation impact. So Ani and her team. And we really wanted to tell their stories. That's a core value for us. It's part of our organizational DNA to get their stories out there. And even better, to provide a platform for our partners to tell their own stories. And film, I think, is just the perfect way to do that. So when we met John, I think it was about 5 years ago now, we loved his filmmaking style, and we had this shared vision for highlighting the stories of our partners around the world. So he started our first film together, it was a few years ago, highlighting our Cambodia program director. This is our second film, and we're just eager to continue this work together. So we film with all of our conservation partners and share all of their amazing stories.
Yeah, I think Kelly pretty much hit on it. I think the strength of what Wild Earth Allies does is, works with people, on the ground, so that it's a natural filmmaking portal that you're not just telling stories about stats or subjects, you're telling stories about people. And I think that's what really allowed us to tell this story. And what we saw with ProCosta was not only Ani, but Sophia and Melissa, sort of a female-led initiative that was on the ground and making a difference this way. So that was definitely the kind of the character-based vision we had from the beginning. I would say visually, it was roughly in the same camp of what we wanted to do. I think we definitely knew there was a lot of unpredictables with the nesting and the hatching, and we didn't know what we would find. I think our original vision was for the opening to be a little bit more like a turtle heist film, where it's very dark. You're kind of going in the dark to see like a nesting female, and then it kind of flashes back to how we started. Obviously, we had the luck almost of having some female in the daylight, so we kind of pivoted around that as well. But yeah, we were lucky in that sense. And hopefully, I mean, Ani will tell me more than this, but like, hopefully it was a good experience for the folks on the ground as well. I know she hinted at there's a fine balance between filming action as it's happening, but also trying to recreate what's going on. And I know we were forced to ask Ani and the team to wear the same shirt every day for a long period of time, but for continuity issue. But hopefully it was a good experience as well. We try to make it that for the folks on the ground.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I think a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'll just add to that, John, that it was, and Ani can confirm, it was pretty unusual that we lucked out with that nesting turtle in the morning, because usually they nest at night, and it was raining, I think, every night we were there, which is actually, the turtles love to nest during the rain, but raining, dark, cameras, very expensive cameras don't really mix. So that female showed up, I think it might have been our last morning, and it was such a relief. And it turned out to make beautiful footage, as you saw. That was the nesting female that we highlighted in the film.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's so cool. You know, I think a question often comes up, and it did come up in the Q&A section as well, is why does it matter? Why do we need to save turtles? Because a lot of people go, I don't understand what the importance of saving a turtle is. So it'd be great to hear from any of you who wants to take a stab at that, because there is a big significance in saving turtles and many other species. Jose, you want to take that? Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you can have you have multiple angles to explain why this matters, right? In one way, you can have a lot of instrumental values to justify why protecting sea turtles as any species in the world is important, right? Sea turtles play an important role in keeping the ecosystem, the marine ecosystem functioning. One of those species that somehow help to build the environment, in the sense that they connect the ocean to the land system. The nesting process is a natural process to that contribute to bring nutrients from the ocean into the land systems. So you have the economic value, you have the ecologic value, sorry, you have the economic value, because there's people that have been building their livelihoods, partially through the use of turtles, the direct use of turtles, but also through indirect uses or indirect take, unless like the tourism and other activities that keep the economy of the country. And you can find lot of instrumental values like this. But I would argue also that sea turtles are super cool. And just for that simple reason, they totally deserve to be protected. It's like it will be so sad and so impoverishing for humanity, right? To lose this wonderful creature from our planet Earth. And I think that it is valid and very, 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 very important reason, right? And I also sometimes, like with all what has been happening in the world, sometimes you start thinking, okay, it's like all these vaccine epidemics, war, and other things, and you are really focused just in one turtle species, in one single planet in one single place of the Earth. And why are we persevering with this type of kind of crazy thing? But I think that this type of endeavors give us optimism, give us hope, right? That we can achieve a meaningful change in the way we interact with nature and maybe like make a better world. So I think this project is a great example of that.
Oh, and you're right, Jose, turtles are awesome. So in mind with that, obviously having the turtles as being one priority, Ani, I love the fact that a key component of the work was to really have the community's participation in the efforts, but also embed the needs of the community into the strategy of the conservation effort itself. So can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of prioritizing community needs in conservation efforts and what you've seen happen as a result of deepening the connection between conservation and community in Jiquilisco Bay?
Yeah, well, there is a huge importance of working together with communities. and how this can make a positive change in conservation effort and conservation strategies and helping critical endangered species as hawksbill turtles. If we don't have communities helping, then we don't have nothing. For us, communities is very important because they are a key part. So we have at the beginning so many people selling eggs for consumption, and now we have a huge conservation network, people working together, and we are not like ProCosta and communities. We are one team, and that's the good part of this, that since we've been staying since 2008 with them, now we are part of the family. So yeah, communities are a key part for conservation.
Amazing. That's one of the things that we found most inspiring when Katie Frohart approached us about working together, and we just loved how that was it was so well thought out, the way you integrated community and conservation. You know, Jose, we've heard from you that you have worked across the Eastern Pacific protecting sea turtles because you love them and you think they're cool. What was so special for you in particular working in El Salvador?
Yes. I would say, obviously, the natural system, right? The population is outstanding. It was like a huge discovery, as Annie already said, for the sea turtle conservation community, like the discovery of this rookery in the Bahia de Jiquilisco and then in another places. So I would say that El Salvador was one of the larger sparks that ignited all the refresh movement of Hawksbill conservation in the Eastern Pacific. And now, recently we had the meeting in the Pacific, the Eastern Pacific Network, and you can see how this initiative have multiplied, right? We have now a lot of initiatives doing work in Ecuador, in Panama, in Costa Rica, maybe in nesting beaches, but also in water. And we can say that most of that initiative was sparked by the project in El Salvador. And the other thing that makes El Salvador a very interesting case, and I know that I'm becoming repetitive with this, but it's really the interaction with the community, right? It is, again, it is about conservation. Conservation is about the turtles, but it's also about the people, right? And it's about conciliating the needs to protect the natural resource, the species, but also to give solutions to local communities. And ideally, the ideal scenario is when communities buy in and communities say that, yes, we need to do this, right? And yes, I want to participate and I want to give my part. And this is one thing that we see repetitively in Bahia de Jiquilisco, and that's what makes this a very special project.
That's awesome. And I hope you like pupusas too, because they're pretty delicious.
Oh my God, it's so wonderful. Yeah.
That was the highlight of the trip,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
But yeah, I'll add to that. I know that Ani spoke about this earlier, but she's so humble. I really just wanted to brag on her behalf and ProCosta's behalf. The behavior change that they accomplished with the community is absolutely remarkable. In 2007, 100%, basically 100% of eggs were being collected for food, for sale, for human consumption. And ProCosta, with the community, has changed that to near total protection. And because El Salvador Jiquilisco Bay is the most important nesting area in the Eastern Pacific, that action has transformed the outlook for the species in the region. And what's so amazing to me too is ProCosta is a very small team as well. It's six of you. And then of course, they're completely embedded in the communities. They're all one team. But it's just such a powerful reminder, I think, that small groups of people can make such a big difference, and that it's so important to involve the community as well, so they benefit and that they're engaged. So
100%.
shout out to Ani and ProCosta.
Absolutely.
The only thing I'll add to that is just from a filmmaking perspective too, but I just wanted to shout out Neftali, who's in the film as well. He wasn't named in there, but he's sort of like the main man you see in a lot of different places. I believe he's the field coordinator, correct, Ani, at ProCosta. Actually lives in Jalisco Bay, I think has been there since the 80s. And honestly, from a film perspective, was an amazing assistant associate producer in terms of helping us navigate stuff. So I know he's critical to the work on the ground there and was critical to our film as well.
Yeah, he had a natural talent for film, didn't he, John? I feel
great.
like
He helped us in a lot of different places. I mean, yeah, he co-produced it in a lot of ways. I would say he was a super big help.
He's a natural. I just wanted to add, like, I see like the team, the way you can let. I learned a lot of the way they work in ProCosta, right? It's a very horizontal organization. You have Annie, you have Sophie, you have Melissa, you have Nestali, you have Carlos, you have Mike. And they really work as a team. When you ask about memories about the trip, I just remember that visiting the hatchery and like it was Annie's birthday. And you know, they have prepared like this surprise cake, right? So you have all the stuff that in the middle of like having the big challenge of running this conservation project and like having to deal with a film crew that was going to prepare, they were preparing like this surprise cake in the hatchery with the hatchery staff, some egg collectors, and the staff all there for Annie. And you can like pretty much sense the camaraderie and like how, you know, ProCostas and the work they're doing is embedded, interwoven in their life, right? This is what they do. This is what they are, right?
Thank you. The truth is that it's an amazing team. Every day I woke up, giving a big thank that I'm working at ProCosta and I'm working with a big team of people that are amazing. Every day we share something different. We learn something different from each other. And I know that some of them are joining us. So hi, Melissa, Sophia, say hi to Neftali. We just have about a day ago our our workshop with all the hatchery managers. So they are there. And also I said hi to Neftali, Marvin, Carlos, and of course, Mike, who was the first one to begin this initiative. So yes, thank you all for this beautiful words that help us, that motivate us. So thanks a lot.
There's like so much love and kindness in this collective. It's so awesome. So, you know, the work is so important, but telling the story is so important as well, because otherwise, if it's not amplified, it's hard to know what's happening. So, you know, I'd love to hear a little bit about the work between Wild Earth Allies and Emic Films and what you're continuing to do together to share conversations like these. John, what drew you to continuing to working with Wild Earth Allies? And Kelly, why has Wild Earth Allies decided to build storytelling into the work that you're doing? I'll start with you, John.
Yeah, I think I hinted at this a little bit before, but I think that the real possibility to tell character-based stories in location was what was really attractive. Like we've done a lot of like nonprofit and also development, environmental conservation video, and at times can be a little message or kind of like stat heavy, kind of top level heavy. Not only clearly from the conservation approach they're taking, but yeah, the storytelling approach is, I think, reflective of that as well. So that was super interesting. And then, you know, I think this is our second story with them. We're hoping to do more. The idea of like building these stories into a network of stories that can combine into one film and then also be used in different ways, we thought was exciting and multidimensional in a way that we hadn't done with other groups and other networks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We're so excited to continue their work together. Yeah, and I said it before, but you know, people are just so important. The conservation work will not get done if dedicated people like Ani and her team aren't doing this work. So we wanted to get their story out there. We thought it was a good time to get their story out there. It's been a rough couple of years. We need some hope in our life. And the environmental challenges that the world is facing are enormous. And I think it's easy to feel hopeless, but when you hear these stories, these on the ground grassroots stories of beautiful success, I think that gives us hope and can really catalyze, inspiration, change. Yeah, so I think that's the goal. We want to tell more of these amazing stories. We need more conservation heroes, to inspire us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you bring that up, because storytelling can also help inspire the next generation to get involved in this work. So, Ani, we'd love to hear from you. What is ProCosta doing to engage young people and inspire people to participate?
Well, since we started, we have a program with university students that we take them to our protected areas so we can share our work, our investigation work with them. We have seen so many students that have come back to do their graduation program. And throughout the years, we have seen so many students and so many people very excited about knowing about us and working with us. So mostly what we do is that we do a lot of work with universities and focus in biologists, future biologists and veterinarians. And it's been working for us. I guess that we have received people in Facebook messages from people around the world telling if they can come and visit our project. And it's really good to see that the people are wanted to be part of this initiative. But yeah, we started with the future generation, those university students that really want to know more about sea turtle conservation.
Oh, and Ani, ProCosta also works with younger kids as well on field trips, and you have an ecotourism program as well, so groups can come and learn from you all in the field.
Yes, we also work with the schools around the bay, and also we have another project areas in Los Cóbanos and Punta Mapala. So what we tried is to make connection with the schools of the local schools, so people, the young generations, are able to see what we are doing. And we have seen so many kids that now are younger and that they want to become biologists. So that's huge for us because we know that we're doing a good job promoting our work. So yeah, and we also have our ecotourism program, which is helping us a lot. We have a group of tour guides, local tour guides, and we also have part of our tour guides that are learning English, which is also a very important part from our work, is to motivate the young kids to become local tour guides.
Yeah, it's amazing. It seems. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say I love that we were speaking of Neftali earlier. That his daughter was she became one of the tour guides, right? But now she's away at university, I think, studying biology.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's just amazing the ripple effects that their work is having across the community.
Yeah. It seems like you have a lot of community support now. However, was it always like that? Because, wondering, because it may have felt like a big disruption when you sort of changed the model. What were some of the challenges when you first started, Ani, and how did you and your team overcome them?
Well, I guess one of the important ways to be in the community was to know our communities, to know their needs, what they want, and how can we help them. We hear a lot of local members that says, well, the project come and then go, they come and go. And the fact that we're staying there is something very different from them. They start to have a lot of, trust in all our team members because they know that we're always there. So one of the biggest things that we have made as a difference is that we are there to support them, and they know that we stay there. And our hope is to continue over these years, 5, 10 years, and they are always happy to know that each year we are there to help them. So yeah, that's a huge part, to know the communities, to know that we are there.
And then what about the economic benefits for the community, whether through tourism, jobs? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, as I told before, most of the community members used to sell eggs for consumption, but all the eggs go to the black market. So once we started a project, we did our incentive program. So we give part as a benefit so they can, have incomes for their family. So they are helping for conservation. And this is why we also have our ecotourism program to give alternatives to the community. And this is helping us a lot the Hawksbill turtle has become an important resource for the community. And it's not only Hawksbill turtles and money. It's not seen like the beginning. Now it's an important resource that they know if Hawksbill turtles are not there, that they're gonna be, certain like problems with their family because there are not that much work around the area. So they know that Hawksbill turtles are promoting families' incomes.
Wow. It's such an inspiring model. It feels like this model could be taken and plopped into other parts of the world, just based on the success that you've had. And speaking of other parts of the world, it makes me think of climate change. And Jose, how are you looking at the effects of climate change on the turtle population in general?
Well, yeah, it's a big concern, right? Because climate change is having a lot of impacts on turtles, ecosystems, and the coastal habitats and the turtles themselves. And science is still trying to understand what are those, right? For example, temperature is a big factor affecting the sex ratios of a clutch when it emerges. So in a world with rising temperatures, there is this risk of an increase of female proportion in the population, to the extent that males will be very scarce, and obviously this will affect the viability of the populations. And here, in addition, you have places where bigger storms or sea level rise is deteriorating the nesting habitats, right? Or we are losing some beaches, or the erosion of the nest when big storms comes. So yeah, it's a big concern. In some places, there are more efforts to try to mitigate these effects. How do you mitigate this a lot? At the local level is keeping the coastal habitats healthy. So protecting the vegetation, the coast vegetation, the mangrove system, which for these turtles are very important. But obviously there is much that it can be done at the local level to confront climate change. Also, obviously, we need this big policy change at the world level.
In the film, when you said the population is rising from 500 to 700 nesting females, is there a number that you would consider back to normal or a stable population? What's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is a very difficult question in the sense that we don't have a baseline, right? We don't know how big the population was in the past. We know that that probably was in the thousands, tens of thousands. So we are very far away from reaching the full recovery of the population. But also we know that when ecosystem change, the world change, the habitat change, maybe the carrying capacity for the population may also change, right? So going back to those levels that existed in the pristine Central America before the conquistadores came, maybe a dream, but we will keep dreaming.
That's a very good dream, Jose, a very good dream. Ani, if the turtles return to the same area year after year and their population continues to grow, will they eventually move to other beaches, different mangroves? Is there outreach being done in other communities in the case that this happens?
Yeah, we have seen during the past few years. I mean, it's not, sometimes they don't go back to the the same exact point they left the nest, but they do it in kilometers. So we know we have identified the most important nesting areas. And this is why we have talked with all the communities in this area so we can cover all. And we have new areas each year. So in this case, what we try to do is we communicate to the network of Hawksbill Conservation to make sure that we are able to have 100% nest protection each season. So yeah, for us, a key part for that is communication each year.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, and I want to ask a couple more questions, but thinking about, you know, all the information that people need to understand about this conservation in general, you know, storytelling is one way to help communicate sort of big concepts. Kelly, John, when you were thinking about this film, what do you hope people take away from most importantly? And are there any actions you'd like people to take after watching this?
Well, just right off the bat, you know, I hope they're as inspired by the work as we are. And if they can support the work by sharing the film, just spreading the word. If you have, if you can support financially, that's amazing. As Jose said, this is a long-term effort. These turtles are long-lived. I think they matured about age 20. So it's going to be a long time as we see this population tick up and up and up. But I think what this story really shows that long-term investment in the right people, the right time, the right places can have really remarkable success for wildlife. And then, as Ani said, for the community as well, and that they trust that ProCosta will remain with them. They're part of the fabric of the community now. So yeah, I hope people feel inspired and just spread the word. We would love everyone to know about this project.
Yeah, and I mean, I think stories like this, when it comes to environmental conservation, are stories about forward progress. You know, there's a lot of stories where you can kind of stay in the past, talk about what was lost, but I think everything that we've done with Wild Earth Allies has been about people on the ground pushing forward. And I think it's a positive story in that sense. And in a sense, you know, this is one of adaptation, right? These are turtles that have moved from coral reefs to estuaries and mangroves. And, you know, the turtles are adapting, and continuing to protect them is necessary and vital to, you know, improving their chances long term. So we saw that in the story as well.
Yeah, and it has like almost 160,000 views already, which is amazing. And it hasn't been that long. It's a wonderful story. And somebody in the audience would like to know if there's a blooper reel.
I mean, not one that's been created yet, but it's all possible. I guess at the end of the year.
I would love to see that.
Same.
If you find time for that, John.
It's mostly just Spanish, I would say, but there's some other stuff as well.
Amazing. Well, we're going to start wrapping up, but would love to hear final thoughts from each of you. So we'll start in the same order that I introduced everybody in. So Ani, would love to invite you to say a few words.
Well, I just would like to say thank you. Thank you to all. Thank you, Wild Earth Allies, for the opportunity. Thank you, Emic Films. We share a lot of experience, a lot of work. Now we're ready with our smelly shirts. and thank you, Jose. Thank you, everybody, for the support. This is actually something amazing. And we were talking with all the team that it really motivates us. And the fact to know that we are internationally, it's huge. It's huge. Hikilisco Bay communities and Hawksbill Turtles said a big thank you to all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ani. John.
Yeah. I'd say, I mean, the goal of this film was always just to elevate the voices of the subject matter and the people working. So I'd encourage anybody watching, obviously, to learn more about ProCosta, to connect with ProCosta, to learn more about the issue on the ground. And one thing I'm excited about too, which we did in Cambodia, is there is a Spanish-only version of this film, which will hopefully be available for screenings within the country. You know, so community-based screenings that can raise that awareness internally as well. So that's another thing that we're excited about.
Amazing. Jose.
Well, no, I'm just full of appreciation and thanks. First, to all the people that attended this broadcast. I was skimming through the list of participants, a lot of friends, old friends, or people that I knew. I really appreciate that. And I know that each of the people that participated is going to help to spread the word in the world. This is very difficult for somebody to speak Spanish. Of this amazing project that happened to be in one beautiful place in El Salvador, and also big hugs to all the folks in El Salvador.
Yeah. Thank you, Jose. You and Ani speak perfect English, so not to worry. And then, of course, Miss Kelly.
Yeah, just huge thanks again to everyone. We're so proud to be sharing this film with the world. So like I said, please follow along. We'll share more news. We have other projects we're working on with ProCosta we didn't speak about, like future MPA development, fisheries work. So there's a lot to learn. So stick with us and share the film, and just thank you so much. This has been so fun to reminisce.
Well, a big thanks to our panelists for sharing your thoughts with us, and for the audience for tuning in. And we hope you enjoyed this event and the gorgeous system. We have really seen today what it looks like to protect vital areas of our natural world for the benefit of wildlife, habitats, and people. This is in fact the mission of Wild Earth Allies. So from where I sit, is their collaborative approach is working. So please help us spread the word, i.e. give us money, and the amazing partnerships in El Salvador and globally. And check us out at wildearthallies.org and across social channels. Give your time, make a contribution, and let's get busy growing this positive work for the planet together. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.